A lack of accountability and the effect on you. It is well known that our kind doesn't do responsibility. We are not to be held to account. We are never culpable. Nothing is ever our fault. We are free to act as we please, doing what we want without concern for repercussion or consequence. Responsibility does not figure in our considerations. There is a considerable deficit on our side of the equation when it comes to shouldering responsibility. Nature abhors a vacuum, and therefore, since we create such an absence of responsibility, this raises the question of who is going to step in and accept this responsibility. Who is going to take on more than their fair share of accountability? Who is going to plug the culpability gap? The answer, of course, is you as our victim, and this is a significant reason why you remain chained to us. Naturally, our narcissism recognizes this. This is one of the many reasons why you are selected as a victim of the narcissist. We cannot be held to account because with accountability comes a threat to our control. We need to be mobile, fleet of foot, unhindered, not weighed down, and therefore by shirking responsibility, never being culpable, never being at fault, we ensure that any attempt to control us is thwarted. You, as an empathic individual, have many traits which appeal to us. One of those traits is having a strong moral compass so that you do the right thing, and you accept responsibility for your actions. This is attractive to us in itself. However, you go further than this. You are blessed, or cursed, dependent on how you regard it, with the fact that you are actually over-responsible. Not only will you rightly accept blame when it is genuine your fault, but you will invariably accept responsibility for us as well. This is extremely appealing. How does this over-responsibility on your part come about? On the one hand, it is something which is intrinsic to you as a consequence of being an empathic person. Through your empathic traits, you feel a deep responsibility for others, and you do so because you wish to help. You do not believe that it is right to shirk responsibility or walk away when someone is in need. You widen your scope of responsibility by adopting the stance that as a decent human being you have a responsibility to aid others, to assist them, and to help them. Added to that is the fact that we cause you to be responsible for us. We deny responsibility, and you invariably feel a need to plug that gap. I'll return further in this video to why you feel that need. Moreover, we make it your responsibility through our repeated projection and blame shifting. For instance, it's always your fault. You make me get angry. It's your fault. Now look what you have made me do. You should have known that that was going to annoy me. This frequent projection and blame shifting conditions you to accept responsibility for what we have done or not done. The more aware of our kind know that by reinforcing this double-edged message, we are not responsible. It is your fault. You will accept this to be the case. You are prone to repeated self-analysis, and in order to find solutions, keep the peace and avoid those eggshells, you will accept responsibility for us. An objective observer would find a certain action to be clearly our fault, but you will take on the mantle of responsibility on our behalf, driven by the corruption of your empathic traits, by your emotional thinking. You will say such things as, "It's my fault, I should have known. He's tired, that's why he shouts at me. I should have let him rest. I should have remembered that he doesn't like fish. It's okay, I'm used to it. I don't mind, because he can be wonderful to me, you know. It's just the way he is. I pick up the pieces, that's what I'm here for." This over-responsibility also links into the concept of the martyr empath. Those of you who have a section of your empathic makeup that is attributable to martyrdom, the martyr cadre, find that this can manifest through being over-responsible, that you take on our failings, our faults, the problems that we cause, and shoulder them. You accept flagellation and punishment for our transgressions on our behalf. Dependent upon the scope of your martyr cadre, this can be across many aspects of the relationship between you and the narcissist, or it might only be across certain aspects of it. For instance, feeling responsible for the narcissist with regard to his interactions with his extended family, but not with regard to other matters. The repeated reinforcement that you are to blame, coupled with your natural propensity for wanting to accept responsibility, means that we are able to easily burden you with accountability, and you will invariably accept it. This then paves the way for us to inflict other manipulations against you based on your acceptance of fault and guilt. You accept that you are at fault, so that when we are entirely justified in shouting at you, cold-shouldering you, stopping you going out, or by us having an affair, you made me sleep with her because you don't give me enough sex. Having you as the one to blame suits our purposes to maintain our perceived superiority and provides us with justification for punishing you, so that we receive further negative fuel. This over-responsibility will extend into making excuses on our behalf when we have, for instance, stormed out of a family occasion. It is our secretary ringing a client and apologising for us when we've been rude to somebody. It is a sibling who tries to play down our outrageous behaviour and finding something to explain it without pinning the blame where it ought to be pinned, on the narcissist. You accept that you are to blame, and you become our spokesperson when dealing with other people, as you are left to defend the indefensible. Not that you will get any thanks for doing so from us, of course. Our sense of entitlement means that we expect you to do this. Why then do you feel such a need to be over-responsible for us? Where does this trait stem from? I have seen it within my own family with my sister. From an early age, you have been subjected to such blaming behaviour when it was never actually your fault that this results in the creation of the martyrdom cadre. This causes you to believe that there must be something wrong with you, and that you are not good enough, and that you need to make amends, that you need to shoulder the blame. In order to deal with this sense of inadequacy that was installed in you during your childhood, you end up, as a martyr cadre, seeking to overcompensate and decide that you will become good enough by being the receptacle for all blame, irrespective of real culpability. You have become convinced that you deserve this abuse, that you deserve this blame, and that it is your duty to shoulder responsibility for what we do and what we do not do, in order for you to become worthwhile. It is easier for you to accept blame than fight against it, because this is fulfilling the role that has been created for you. Always being to blame has caused you to think that you deserve it, and in order to do something about that state of affairs, through your martyr cadre, you accept it by accepting even more blame in order to reach an accord with what you regard your role to be. We instinctively or consciously recognize that you have a need to feel responsible. It is a central plank of certain empaths' constitution, and we of course exploit this by always blaming you, passing responsibility onto you, and walking away from accountability. We will not laud you for such a selfless act of accepting responsibility, but rather seize the opportunity to use it to justify our further foul treatment of you. You are at fault. You, therefore, deserve to be punished. You accept this, and the repeated application of this only serves to reinforce and extend your sense of being responsible for us. It is akin to being caned 6 times at school for something you didn't do, and then asking, "Please, sir, can I have some more?" I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.